Final Fantasy VII On the Way to a Smile. Episode Denzel. There were two distinct cityscapes in Midgar. The upper city was built high in the air atop the plate, which in turn was supported by an array of massive pillars. Below were the slums, where folk lived chaotic but hardy lives in the permanent shadow of the steel structure above. Every resident of Midgar, be they rich or poor, bathed in sunlight or cast in shadow, believed that this amazing city, built by the mighty Shinra Electric Power Company, would be a sight that endured forever. That is, until 4 years ago, when the life stream started to flow and nearly brought Midgar crashing to the ground. The people grabbed what they could of their belongings and tried to flee, but they found they couldn't bring themselves to go very far from the steel metropolis. Perhaps they thought if they stayed close to its imposing skyline, they could hold on to their dreams of a better future. Eventually, a town sprang up right beside Midgar. They called it Edge. The main road of Edge began at the boundary between Sectors 3 and 4 of Midgar and stretched due east. The new settlement sprawled to the north and south of it. From a distance, it looked like a splendid town, but most of the buildings were thrown together from scrap recovered from Midgar. Edge smelled of iron and rust. Johnny wore his hair slicked back in a pompadour, an unusual style for a young man in those days. He ran a cafe alongside the main road, a no-frills sort of place that consisted of tables and chairs set out on the empty lot and a stall where he cooked up his basic fare. He called it Johnny's Heaven, by way of homage to Seventh Heaven, a diner and bar he used to frequent in Midgar's Sector 7 slums. He'd had a thing for the pretty bartender there, a girl named Tifa. That bar had been buried when the Sector 7 section collapsed, but when Edge appeared, Tifa had opened a new Seventh Heaven right here in the new town. At the time, Johnny had been just another one of the displaced young men with vague ambition but no idea what to do next. When he saw Tifa's strength and initiative in the face of disaster, he was inspired. The one-time object of his unrequited crush became a role model, a mentor even. I want to live my life the way she does, he thought. How do I do that? Easy answer is, I'll open a place too. That was the start of Johnny's Heaven, and every customer was subjected again and again to the tale of Johnny Reborn. Of course, when they heard the story of Tifa, they had to go visit Seventh Heaven and see the inspirational barkeep with their own eyes. Soon enough, they ended up as regulars there, and few of them bothered to return to Johnny's humble stall. Suddenly, Johnny found himself waiting day after day for even one customer who'd be willing to listen to his tale of love and redemption. Then someone did. It was just a kid, though. What's this little kid doing out by himself? Oh-ho! If it ain't Denzel. This was no ordinary customer. Denzel lived with Tifa, Johnny's unknowing mentor and the object of his affections. Gotta go all out on this one. "Come in, make yourself at home, Denzel," he said, bobbing his head and gesturing grandly toward an empty chair. But Denzel barely glanced in his direction before taking a seat at the table furthest from the stall. "You can sit closer if you want, kid." "No, I'm meeting someone." Meeting someone? What, like you're on a date at your age? Johnny thought. Okay, that's good. I'll take good care of you both. Everything on the house for my special customer. A date, huh? Go get her, kiddo. Coffee. Ticked off? Nah, probably just shy. If you get stuck for things to talk about, just call me over. I've got some great icebreakers. Works great with the ladies. Heck, if you want, I can... Suddenly, Denzel jumped to his feet. Shit. Maybe I did piss him off. Johnny peered at Denzel, but the kid was looking toward the entrance, where a narrow-faced man in a dark suit now stood. "We're open," Johnny managed to say, without looking him in the eye. It was Reeve, former Shinra bigwig, now the leader of the WRO. He'd never seen the man in the flesh before, but folk whispered that the stench of death clung to him. What's a guy like that doing at my place? Reeve warily scanned the environment as he went to Denzel's table and sat down. Then Johnny figured it out. Denzel's being scouted for the WRO. Reeve's trying to lure him into signing up. I can't let that happen. If that goes down in my place, I'll lose any chance I ever had with Tifa. He glared at Reeve. In return, Reeve gave him a placid smile. "A coffee, if you wouldn't mind." Damn. Dude's got dignity to spare. "Sure," Johnny replied, standing ramrod straight. He scurried back to the stall. Sheesh. He's a real badass, this one. If Johnny was surprised, Denzel was dumbstruck that the head of the WRO himself had come to talk to him. He stood there, unable even to muster a greeting. "Have a seat." Reeve's voice broke the spell, and Denzel hastily sat down. "Now, Denzel, I don't have a lot of time, so I'll get right to the point," Reeve began in a measured tone. "You should know, first of all, that our organization isn't like it used to be. The days of welcoming anyone who is willing to join are long gone. If you want to help in the reconstruction, talk to your local district officer. The WRO is a military institution now." "Yes, sir. I know it'll be dangerous." "Do you? So tell me about yourself, kid. What's your background?" "My background? I'm only 10. "I'm aware, but even 10-year-olds come from somewhere." Denzel was the only child born to Abel, a workaholic employed by the Shinra Electric Power Company's 3rd Operations Division, and Chloe, a sociable woman who ran a clean, organized home. The three of them lived in company-provided housing in Midgar's Sector 7. Born and raised in a poor backwoods village, Abel was more than happy with his life in Upper Midgar. However, he believed a man always needed goals, and his had been to live in the coveted Shinra Executive Housing area. It was a goal he realized a short time before Denzel's 7th birthday, when he earned a promotion to Division Chief. The position for which benefits included a house in the Sector 5 Enclave. Upon hearing the news, Chloe and Denzel prepared a celebration. The proud dad came home to a feast and decorations handmade by Denzel himself. It was a lively dinner, and in high spirits. Denzel's father cracked jokes and told stories about his life. "Denzel, always remember, you're a lucky young boy. If you were born down in the slums, you'd have to eat rats instead of chicken." "They don't have chicken in the slums." "I suppose they might, but no one can afford it. They have to catch rodents instead. Spear them with a stick. Big, black rats." "Ew, gross." "Actually, I think they taste just fine," said Abel, patting his stomach and winking at Chloe. "What about you, Denzel? How do you like them?" Chloe pointed to Denzel's plate. Denzel looked suspiciously at his parents and then at his plate. His dad was looking away and trying not to laugh. Denzel remembered what his father liked to say: "There's no point to a life without laughter." They were playing tricks on him again. "Mom, Dad, stop with the stupid jokes already." "So your parents would tease you?" "They just like to joke around, that's all. I thought it was funny too." "For the record, to the best of my knowledge, they didn't eat any rats in the slums. I doubt they were edible, to be frank. And really, the slums weren't as bad as many topsiders believed." "Yes, I know. I figured that out myself." "Oh? How so?" It's a long story. Denzel was home alone when the phone rang. It was Abel. "Where's your mother?" he demanded. "She went shopping." "Tell her to call me right away when she gets home." "No, never mind, I'll just come myself." Denzel could tell there was trouble of some kind. It made him nervous, and then he couldn't concentrate on anything, so he watched TV while he waited for Mom to come home. The news was showing the ruins of Mako Reactor 1. Some group called Avalanche had blown it up. "That must be why Dad's cranky. He must be really busy with this disaster. He's not mad at Mom or me." An hour later, Abel arrived home. "Where is she?" "She's not back yet." "Then we're going to find her." Abel was already out the door again, with Denzel scurrying after him. They went to the market and spotted Chloe soon enough, chatting with the butcher. Abel told Denzel to stay put and marched over to the butcher's stall. He grabbed his wife by the wrist without a word and dragged her back. Denzel felt his heart skip a beat at the fear in his mother's voice when she protested. "Let me go! What's gotten into you?" Abel looked from side to side and whispered, "They're going to destroy Sector 7. We have to leave for Sector 5 right now. We can go to the new house." "Destroy it?" "Those lunatics who blew up the reactor, they're targeting Sector 7 next." Denzel studied his mother's expression. She wasn't laughing. "Is this for real?" He clutched at his parents' hands. "Hey, come on, we gotta go." But neither of them moved. "We can't just run off and save ourselves. We have to warn our neighbors, our friends." "There is no time, Chloe, and this is top secret company intelligence. I only just got promoted, and I'm already breaking the rules." Chloe shook her head furiously and turned to Denzel. "You go with your father, and I'll come find you soon. It'll be okay." She squeezed his hand once before letting go, and then she ran off. "No!" Abel began to chase after her, but he gave up after a few steps. Denzel's chest felt tight as he looked up at his father's stricken face. He wants to go after her, he thought. But he's got to look after me. "Come on, Denzel. We're going to Sector 5. "But what about Mom?" "She'll be okay. She's just being the family conscience." A man in his early 20s was dragging a heavy suitcase along the road dividing Sectors 6 and 7. His tie was askew, his jacket unbuttoned, and he wore an expression of dogged desperation. He was clearly in a hurry. "Arkham!" Abel called out to him. Hearing his name, the man looked up and spotted Abel. "Chief, you're still here. The Turks have already deployed. They must have planted the explosives by now. I know a guy from the maintenance section who prepped their vehicles." Having heard his father talk about Shinra his entire life, Denzel knew a lot about the company's organization, such as the fact that the Turks were the ones who did the company's dirty work. "Explosives? The Turks are going to blow something up? But does that mean the Turks are also Avalanche?" He was staring at the ground, trying to make sense of the grown-ups' exchange, when he felt his father's gaze and looked up. "Would you take my boy over to Sector 5? I'd consider it a personal favor," Abel said, still looking at his son. "No!" Denzel shouted. "I'll go and get your mother. You go along with Mr. Arkham here." "I want to stay with you." "Can I count on you, Arkham?" "Of course, sir." "Number 38 in the Sector 5 Enclave. Here's the key. My son will look after it, right?" Abel took a key from the inside pocket of his jacket and pressed it into Denzel's hand. "Dad." "I bought us a new big-screen TV. You can watch your shows while you wait for us." He ruffled Denzel's hair a little too hard and gave him a shove toward the Arkham guy. Then he took off sprinting into Sector 7. The man caught Denzel as the boy stumbled. "All right, kid, let's go. Name's Arkham. I work for your dad. Nice to meet you." Denzel squirmed and tried to run after Abel, but Arkham held him fast. "I know how you feel, but your dad told me to take you home, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So let's just get you to Sector 5, and after that, it's up to you, okay?" The new house, one in a long row of cookie-cutter lookalikes, was empty save for a large box containing the new TV set. Arkham wrestled the TV out of the packaging and plugged it in. The two of them sat on the floor watching the news, which was still showing footage of the blown-up Reactor 1. Denzel tried to think of how to get this stranger to leave. "I'm hungry," he said. "All right, I'll go get you something." And then the whole house shook. From somewhere far off, they could hear a mighty crash, and then the scream of twisting metal. "Stay here," Arkham ordered and then rushed outside. Denzel moved to the door too, but then the voice on the television brought him up short. Breaking news. Now the screen was showing a falling city. It took a minute before Denzel realized he was looking at a huge section of the plate collapsing earthward into the slums below. Sector 7, where he had just been with his parents a few hours ago. The scene changed and the anchor said, "You are looking at live footage from Sector 7. There was nothing there. Sector 7 was gone. Denzel tore out of the house. The city was in chaos. People were running in all directions, screaming that Sector 5 could be next. He darted between legs, desperately pushing through the crowd. Eventually, out of breath, he reached the edge of Sector 6, but soldiers had already put up roadblocks across the entrances. He peered through the barricades, trying to see where Sector 7 was, but there was nothing, just empty space, as if it had never been there at all. Beyond the gap in the distance, he could just about make out Sector 8. Its edge was a jagged wound of dangling cables and twisted steel beams. "Hey kid, you shouldn't be out here. Where do you live?" said one of the soldiers. Denzel pointed at the empty space. "Damn, sorry to hear that, kid," said the soldier, not unkindly. "Know where your folks are at?" Denzel pointed again to the same place. The guard heaved a sigh. "This is Avalanche's doing, don't you forget that. When you grow up, you can pay them back," the soldier said, as if to encourage the boy. The soldier put his arm on Denzel's shoulder, turned him back toward Sector 6, and gave him a light push on the back. "You'd best get going now." In a daze, Denzel started walking. Around him, the rubberneckers and survivors spoke in fear and wonder. "What are they going to blow up next? Dad, is it safe here? Mom, Avalanche isn't getting away with this. What is Shinra doing? Dad, Mom, where are you?" He tuned out the voices, all but one pathetic child's voice that seemed to constantly follow him. Eventually, he realized it was his own, and he stopped, unable to take another step. Then the tears came. "Is it true that Shinra did it?" "Yes." Reeve looked away, as if he'd made up his mind not to show any emotion whatsoever. "Yes, you can hate me for it. Get revenge if you want." Denzel shook his head. Denzel woke up the next day in the new house in Sector 5, on a mattress that hadn't been there yesterday. Next to him, he found a note and a pastry. "I'm at work. I'll come check on you in a bit. Don't go too far, okay? Everyone's pretty riled up, so it isn't safe outside. It wasn't easy to find you last night, and it wasn't easy carrying you all the way back. Arkham. P.S. I borrowed the mattress from next door. Make sure you return it." The TV news was showing footage of the Sector 7 collapse over and over again. The reporters kept rereading the press release from the Shinra Electric Power Company that said Midgar was safe now. But how could anything ever be safe for him if his parents were dead? It didn't make any sense. They kept saying it's safe. So does everyone live happily ever after? Do I? He picked up the pastry, but just before he bit into it, he noticed it was a little crushed, and the cream inside was leaking out. It made him angry. He hurled it at the TV with all his might and stormed outside. Despite what Arkham had said, the streets were calm. Denzel could see the Shinra building towering over the center of Midgar. Dad could still be alive. He and Mom could have gone to the office. I bet he's just really busy dealing with all this mess. These are all Shinra houses. I bet someone knows Dad. I hate talking to grown-ups I don't know, but I guess I've got to suck it up and ask. He went to the first door on the right and rang the bell. No answer. Just in case, he tried opening the door. It was unlocked. He poked his head in. "Hello? He waited for a bit, but the house was silent. Maybe Arkham took the mattress from this house. Wasn't borrowing without asking the same as stealing? He tried the house on the left, then the ones across the street, then the ones further up the street. They were all empty. He began ringing bells on the next street over. A lot of houses had notes posted on their front doors to say that the people who lived there were temporarily leaving town. Often, there was a contact number too. The whole neighborhood was deserted, and Denzel knew in his heart that his parents weren't at work. They would have come to find him by now. Even if his father couldn't get away, his mother somehow would have made it here. He walked on, hope surging suddenly, then fading away again, until he realized he was completely lost. He couldn't remember the way he'd come. He started to cry, more out of frustration than fear. He plunked himself down on the sidewalk, but jumped up quickly when he realized he'd sat on something hard. It was a toy Shinra airship. Some kid must have dropped it. Denzel picked it up and threw it as hard as he could. "I hate everyone!" The crash of a window shattering echoed down the street, followed by a woman shouting, "Who's there? Who did that?" Before Denzel realized what was happening, an ancient-looking woman burst out of the house with the smashed window. Actually, maybe she wasn't that ancient, but he was just a kid. How was he supposed to tell? "Did you just throw this?" With a scowl, she thrust the airship in Denzel's direction. He nodded dumbly. "Now why?" She cut herself off mid-sentence. "Are you crying?" Denzel shook his head in denial, but he couldn't hide his tears. "Where do you live?" He didn't know how to answer that, and that only made him angry at himself. He cried harder. "Well, child, I can't leave you here like this. I suppose you'd best come in." Ruvy's house had a sweet, cozy feel to it that was quite different from that of his parents' house. There were tiny floral patterns on the wallpaper and the sofa, and fake but cheerful flowers in a vase. Denzel sat perched on the edge of the sofa, watching Ruvy warily as she struggled to cover the broken window with a piece of tarp. "I'm sorry. If these were more normal times, I'd have grabbed you by the scruff of your neck and hauled you straight to your folks, and given you an earful along the way. My mom and dad, don't tell me they skipped town and left you behind. They were in Sector 7. Ruvy froze. Then she left the window and sat down next to Denzel and wrapped her arms around him. When he had cried himself out, she said she would take him outside. "Come on, let's see if we can't find that house of yours." Ruvy held his hand as they walked. Denzel hadn't held hands with anyone since he turned 6. It just wasn't what big kids did. But right now, he didn't care about being a big kid. The Shinra employees in his neighborhood were bunking at headquarters, while their families had fled to Junin or Costa del Sol, according to Ruvy. But she'd stayed behind because, as she explained it, if you're going to be alone, no matter where you go, you might as well be in your own home. Eventually, the two of them found Denzel's house. "Thank you. I'm sorry about your window." Ruvy only nodded and walked Denzel up to the door, peering inside as he opened it. "Now look at that, empty as a cell. What are you going to do with yourself in here? Come along, Denzel. I think you need to stay with me for a while." So Denzel ended up living with Ruvy. After the explosion at Mako Reactor 1, she had stocked up on essentials, anticipating tough times ahead. The shed in her backyard was full of canned food. Forewarned is forearmed, isn't that what they say? She kept her days full with cleaning and yard work, cooking and sewing. Denzel helped with everything but the sewing. She would read before going to bed, working through heavy, challenging books. Denzel asked if they were any good. "Not a bit," Ruvy replied. They were her sons, she explained. For more than 5 years, she had been reading them, trying to understand what her son did for a living. "But I'm no wiser than when I started. All they do is put me to sleep," she had laughed as she told him. Ruvy did loan him an illustrated guide to monsters, telling him it would prove useful. That book was her son's, too. He'd read it when he was about Denzel's age. It had full-color pictures of the monsters and descriptions for each one. Every page had the same advice. If you see one of these, run away fast and tell an adult. If I meet a monster now, I guess I can tell Ruvy, but she doesn't look like she can fight much. I'd probably have to do the fighting for us. But could I beat a monster? Probably not. I'm useless, Denzel thought. That's why my parents went to Sector 7 without me. The day was getting warmer, and Denzel was sweating. Gracious me, it's hot. How about bringing some water over here? Reeve said to Johnny. Denzel took out a handkerchief to wipe his brow. Cute handkerchief, Reeve remarked. Did a girl give it to you? Sort of. Denzel stared down at the fabric. One morning when he came down for breakfast, Ruby held up a collared shirt and said, Here, I made this for you. It's the only fabric I had. The shirt was white and decorated with little pink flowers. In another time, Denzel would have refused to wear it, but now he put it on, delighted. And I made these with the scraps. Here you go. She offered him a pile of handkerchiefs with the same pattern as the shirt. There must have been quite a lot of extra fabric, judging by how many she'd made. Denzel took just one, folded it carefully, and put it in his pocket. One other thing. The smile had left Ruby's face. I'm not sure how to put this. A sudden chill ran through Denzel. He imagined the worst thing she could say. It's time for you to leave. The very idea made him shake. Why don't we go outside? Ruby went out the back door to the yard. Denzel hesitated, then followed, stepping across the well-packed soil to stand beside her. Ruby was looking up at the sky. He followed her gaze and saw the thing above them. A big black smudge, a truly ominous sight. You weren't supposed to see black in the sky during the day, only blue or white. Anything else was wrong and frightening. They're calling it meteor. It's small now, but it's going to get a whole lot bigger. Then it'll hit our planet and wipe us out. Wipe out everything. Ruby took 2 cans from the shed and handed them to Denzel. How are we supposed to prepare for something like that, for crying out loud? That day, she didn't do any cleaning or sewing. She spent the whole time sitting on the sofa, thinking. She did try to make a few phone calls, several times throughout the day. But whoever she was calling, they weren't picking up. Maybe she's trying to call her son, Denzel thought, as he cleaned the house inside and out. He couldn't really imagine what would happen when Meteor hit. And anyway, he had another question on his mind. He just didn't know how to bring it up. Finally, when it got dark, Ruby started cleaning too, as if waking from a reverie. You're not doing it right, Denzel. Haven't you been watching how I clean? That was the Ruby he knew. Later, they sat side by side on the sofa reading their books. She started to talk without looking up from the page. Denzel, I'm going to stay here and wait out the end. If the whole world is doomed, it doesn't matter where I go. But you don't have to do what I do. If you want to go somewhere else, you can go ahead and take all the food in the house. You're still young, but you have the right to decide where you're going to be when the time comes. He thought carefully about what Ruby said. Then he asked the question he'd wanted to ask all day long. Can I stay here? Ruby looked up from her book and smiled at him. After that, Ruby was like her old self. Mostly, except that she stopped doing the yard work. That became Denzel's job. He could see construction starting at the Shinra building. In no time at all, it seemed an enormous cannon was towering over the city. Shinra's going to shoot that rock into bits, he told Ruby. Is that so? Well, I hope it works, but I wouldn't count on it. That company has never done a single thing right, Ruby said dolefully. In the end, the cannon fired just one volley at an unseen target before collapsing into a wreck. As if that weren't enough, the Shinra building itself was attacked and destroyed. Denzel wondered what kind of monster could have done that. He couldn't even begin to imagine one big enough to take down a building that size, but he kept himself from asking Ruby about it. All hell may have broken loose elsewhere, but Denzel's days went quietly by. Sometimes he missed his parents so badly that he sobbed aloud, but Ruby would hold him tight, and then he felt better. She let him sleep in her bed, and he thought that if the end of the world came while they were asleep together, it wouldn't be so bad. This is UncleWooly. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the content, please consider liking the video and subscribing so you don't miss out on future episodes of Final Fantasy VII: On the Way to a Smile.